This next video is going to be a pretty short one. I wanted to include it because the topic about adding multiple panels with vertical reveals comes up pretty often. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this. One by adding supplemental parts, and another by updating the settings of the extruded parts. In this one, I'm going to be doing it through the settings. People have asked how they can have multiple panels extrude along a path with vertical reveals. This is a fairly common design in some die walls or workstations. In the architectural plans I'd receive, a lot of times there'd be a detail for a die wall that called out for aluminum extrusions. Sometimes they'd be horizontal, sometimes they'd be vertical, and sometimes they'd be both. The horizontal reveals between panels is easy to do with the extruded product builder because all you need to do is draw the 2D section showing multiple panels with a reveal between. But for the vertical reveals, there are a few different ways you can go about doing it. Now, the first method I'm going to show you will be adding the joints. For this, I like to switch to a wireframe view and add some perpendicular polylines off the construction path. This will make it easier when picking points to place the new joint locations. Once I have the layout done, I can use the extruded tools to insert a new joint. First, select the extruded parts, then the point on the construction path to place the joint. It doesn't have to be exactly on the construction path, that's why I have the polylines. You just need to pick somewhere along the plane of the path. And then instead of inserting a new joint, if there's one already there but it's just in the wrong spot, you can move it to a new one. Again, pick the extruded parts first, then the base point, and now the new point to move it. Or if you still don't like that, you can remove the joints altogether and start over placing them wherever you like. Let me move this polyline over, then the button to remove extruded entity joint. And now I can select all the parts that I want to join back together. After they're selected, hit enter to finish. Then repeat the steps from before to insert the joints at a new point along the construction path. All right, now the last thing I'll do here is make all these visible extruded parts have just one seam right in the middle. Again, place a polyline where the joint will be, and go through selecting the different parts. Okay, joints have been added. But to get the vertical reveals, I would need to use the stretch and lock extruded entity tool to create the space in between. Now, it's doable, but it's time consuming. So let me start over and go through a different process. This one will be using the Smart Layer properties to insert joints at specific dimensions, as well as giving it the reveal for that added detail. Go back to the tree view and start targeting the parts that need editing. Actually, I don't even need to use the target button on this one. It's easy since it's at the top of the list. Right-click to edit. Then next to the max material length is where you'd want to put the dimension of how wide each panel should be. I'm going to put the joints centered on this 14-foot wall, just like I did with the extruded tools, but this time using the properties of the parts. It will take longer because I have to do it to each one. That's when the target button can be helpful to find those parts a little bit easier. I'll keep updating the max length to 84, and then I'll switch to the other side of this wall to show you how to get the vertical spacing in between. Okay, so now onto this side. I'm going to want 4 panels running from left to right with 1/8-inch spacing. First, into the properties of the part to update the max linear length, and then to the extrusion spacing amount. I'll do 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeter, and hit OK. Okay, so that middle section looks good. Now I'll do the same thing to the top and bottom sections. All right, so that's a couple different ways that you can add joints to extruded parts, and with the extrusion spacing, set the vertical reveals. Now let me show you what I was talking about earlier using the stretch and lock tool. With this, you can continue modifying the extruded parts and set the spacing to whatever amount you like. So this is basically Microvellum's version of AutoCAD's press-pull command, right? We're just selecting the part and then the edge and either pulling it or pushing it in the direction that we want. Now, you will want to lock these parts because if they're not and you redraw, you'll lose some of those changes. I'll show you what I mean. Watch when I update the properties of this part to be unlocked. It just goes right back. So remember that if you want to keep making edits to parts using the properties of the Smart Layer, be sure it isn't locked. Otherwise, lock the parts to keep them from reverting back after redrawing. And that's how to use the settings of the Smart Layers and the extruded tools to add multiple panels with vertical reveals. Thanks for watching.